That's the Neil Haley Show on the Stay on Course podcast with our host, Julie Riga. Julie, how are you? And I know you're excited about our guest.
I'm doing fantastic. It is Thursday and it's a great day.
Absolutely. Every day is a great day when I get to chat with you, but go ahead with our guest.
Sure. Today we have Daniel Ruth. He's the founder of NextGen Sales Management and a seasoned healthcare insurance expert with over 20 years experience. And as a fractional sales manager and experienced sales leader, Daniel empowers sales team to achieve 10x growth with optimized sales systems. And he's known for growing sales and fostering strong collaborative teams and building insights and growth within teams. And today we're going to talk about ingredients for success for managing a sales team as a fractional sales manager. So, Daniel, welcome to the Stay on Course podcast and the Neil Haley Show today.
Julie and Neil, thanks so much for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
All right. So, Daniel, one of the things I do with my guests is I always ask everybody, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food. Well, as my brother would always say, I didn't get this way by accident. So I like a lot of foods, but I would probably say I'm a big fan of butter chicken, an Indian dish, butter chicken. Love it. One of my favorites.
I feel like we've heard that before, Neil, just
Another
recently.
Indian food for another guest. We have
Oh,
to
I
Yeah,
have
wanted
we
to be
a podcast.
unique.
No,
we
you
just
said
had a
no.
butter.
See, I would never be unique in that way of food, but see, that shows he can sell. Good, Julie. We just
Neil,
get
what would you say? You would be like pizza or
No,
something?
I'm really into gluten-free meals and food, but I also do OMAD, which is one meal a day, sometimes intermittent fasting. It's really crazy what I do, but ultimately, my favorite food will be anything that's gluten-free, but Chinese, pizza, anything that's gluten-free. I will not go with gluten anymore, even though I'm not gluten intolerant. I believe it's terrible for our bodies. So there you go.
There you go. And so here we are talking about ingredients for success for managing a sales team. Daniel, tell us what's your first ingredient.
So I think when we talk about sales teams, one thing that's important to know is, successful sales professionals, they come in all shapes and sizes, and they typically share some common traits. And that's whether you're working with a sales team that is contracted or independent or captive and employed, which is a lot of people will call them. I've had people argue with me that, well, you have to treat those differently. But I've found in my experience that whether I was working with contracted independent reps or employed captive reps, by maintaining these three ingredients, as you put them, I've always had a pretty good modicum of success. So my first one is knowing your team and leveraging personality assessments when you're working with that team.
Oh, a leveraging personality assessment. You just got me. You just
Ah.
got me. I do personality assessments. I do the Myers-Briggs. What do you use?
So, I mean, I've used Myers Briggs in the past. I've used DISC. There's a couple different newer ones that are coming out. The key is, and I'm going to ask you as an executive coach, obviously you know about these. What do you think of them, and how do you typically utilize them when you're working with either your clients or when you've worked with teams in the past?
Yeah, and so what I use them for specifically is for personal growth so that they can understand their strengths and their weaknesses, and so that they can also learn how to communicate with different kinds of people. Because when in some of the sales conversations, we can even look at the Myers-Briggs and understand what the best way to approach different kinds of individuals to get them to relate to you.
100%. And in my personal experience, when I've worked with different companies, some companies have utilized those personality assessments in a brilliant way. Most companies use them to hire somebody and then shove them in a file cabinet, and then that's the last time they ever take them out. The key here is understanding the individual strengths. So the best sales managers that I've ever come across, they use them as guides. They actually keep them in their
Wow.
Rolodex so that when they have their coaching meetings, they tailor their coaching style to that individual. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a team member who has a dominance profile. So they're going to thrive with a challenge. They don't mind direct communication. So if you want to have a quick meeting with them, it's very simple to get in and instruct them on what you need or a change that you require. Meanwhile, if you have someone that has a steadiness type profile, they may respond better to a little bit more supportive and steady guidance. Understanding these different personalities on your sales team really helps you kind of deploy that team in different manners, depending on what type of product you're selling and especially what type of client bases you're working with.
Oh, wow.
Really interesting.
And so when I think about this, and we'll get right to the next ingredient after this, is ultimately at the end of the day, you need to have your team get along. You have to understand what they're the best at, so that you don't put them in positions where they're not the best. Hopefully through the hiring process, you figure that out. But if you don't, and you still see it, it still has to be a team atmosphere. Kind of expound on that team atmosphere that you need. So you don't need to have everyone who's like really good at. So I don't know how you would define different types of salespeople and how you need to have different people on the team with different sales skills.
100%. And, again, it's very customized to the business that you're working with at that point in time. I've spent most of my life in health insurance and the healthcare realm. So I've dealt with everything from people our age to most of my life I spent working with seniors, the 65 market and over. We required a specific type of salesperson because I was very focused on compliance. You have to be very careful with these individuals because they get confused easily. So you need to make sure that your sales reps are able to communicate with them and that you're putting the right reps on the street.
It's a very interesting conversation, and I love it. Not just for sales, this goes for any leader that is managing a team, that they know their team on a deeper level, because at any point in time, you can utilize it for helping them to communicate better and also helping them grow into that next level of leadership
100%.
that they need to go into. So thank you for sharing that. What is the next ingredient?
So my next one is setting clear expectations and making sure that all goals are aligned. And so again, leaning on your experience as an executive coach, how often do you find that you're working with an executive where their goals and results that they're looking for might be a little bit cloudy?
Well, at the end of the day, as a coach, I need to make sure that the goals are very clear, because I'm measured on the amount of help that I can give them. And if I don't have a clear goal, there's no goalpost to measure that to.
So my guess is you would say that clarity is key. I mean, for the
That's where
executive.
you start, right? You
Yep.
start with what are the pain points? How can I help you? And so,
Yep.
yes, clarity is extremely important.
So then when you take that clarity, then you have to be able to drive that down to your teams. Now, this is any team in your company, but especially your sales team. That team has to understand what success looks like. And it has to be very clear for them because, I think it was Tony Robbins that taught me this one time. I was at an event and he was telling you about a story about race car drivers. And as they're driving around the track, when they start to go around a turn, they look into the direction that they're going, and that's how they stay in line. So your sales team operates the exact same way. If they don't know what they're looking at, or that vision keeps changing all over the place, your sales team is going to deliver wonky results. I don't care how greatly they're trained. I don't care how great your sales program is. And I don't care how often you're cracking that whip to get them to do something. They need to understand what that goal is and what success looks like. And then you have to take that, and then your sales manager works with each team member to develop their sales plan, which has to include both professional goal aligned with the company, but they also need to work with them on their personal goals, because developing that why that salesperson's there helps them get through objections, helps them get through a bad day, and helps them deliver what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a leader, Julie, who's not providing clear expectations for the team, it's not going to work.
Yeah. They're going to be confused and frustrated.
100%.
Frustration.
Yeah, and I can give you countless examples of when I've walked into teams that did not have that clear direction, or even worse, there was one that was given them that was crystal clear. And then 2 months later, nope, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to change that direction. We're going to go over here. And if you ever want to demoralize a sales team, that is the quickest way to do it, because then they don't ever get to celebrate anything. And that is a huge part of a salesperson's life, is being able to celebrate those wins. And when things keep changing, they're not able to celebrate, and it demotivates your team.
Yeah. This is all leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And if the leader isn't clear, if they don't know their team, they are not going to be successful in what they're doing.
100%.
Love it. Okay, so what is the last ingredient?
So now we know the personality of the team we're working with, and we have a clear vision, and we've delivered that vision to our team. Well, now the last part, and this is often the most important, is maintaining consistent and efficient communications. Okay. So I like people to think of this like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? There was, the bed was too hard, the bed was too soft, and the bed was just right. Sales teams are the exact same way. You can overmanage them, you can undermanage them, and then there's this little guideline that runs down the middle of is just the right amount of management. So my strategy is pretty simple. One, a consistent weekly sales meeting is a must. And this should not be, unless you have a massive sales team, and then you should actually break it out, a 2-hour meeting to get these folks rolling, right? Based on the size of your team, most companies can get this done in 15 to 30 minutes on most average sales teams, right? Because what you're really looking to do is you're looking to uncover any challenges. You're looking to cheer on successes. You're looking to make sure that your team kind of has a plan that they're rolling out on for that week. And then you're going to pat them on the back and you're going to say, get out of here. The next part of this is your monthly one-on-one. You have to do this with each sales team member, and it has to be consistent. Don't let it move all over the board. And during that, now you're going to have an in-depth discussion, and you're going to look at their performance, and you're going to be able to work with them on challenges that they're having, look at where they may be able to get some opportunity, and adjust their plan wherever it's needed. And then you maintain an open door policy, okay? Because things are going to come up. So whether you allow your team to text you, or I used to set, especially during our busy sales times, I would have office hours where I was just available. Years ago, I would literally sit in an office with an open door. Today, it's a team chat room, and we sit there and we wait for people to kind of, team in if they need something, or they text me. But it's very important because especially your newer sales reps, they're going to come up with a million questions. They're going to run into problems, and you need to make yourself available for doing those.
I'm thinking of the one-on-one, the monthly one-on-one, and then the 15-minute meeting. I haven't worked in a sales department, but I've worked in other departments, and it was never a monthly one-on-one. It was like a weekly one-on-one,
Right.
And a weekly meeting, an hour,
Yes.
and it's like they drill you until you just want to be like, I can't listen to anybody else's update anymore. And this is part of like the Zoom fatigue that we've had.
Yes.
Right.
100%. And if you get a senior sales associate, someone who really knows their stuff, you're going to drive them out. Eventually, because all they want to do is get on the road and run and go do their job. And the younger sales associates, they're just going to get bored because they're there to learn something. But typically when those meetings start going on too long, they're no longer learning. That's just droning on, and they start to tune out. So give them what their expectations are. Let them hit the ground, because the best sales professionals are developed by going out and running against doors and making it happen, and then coming back with what the objections are and fixing that.
I love it. All right. So Daniel, when I think about this, you're right. Too many meetings burns them out. It's your job as the sales manager to really be monitoring that stuff without them knowing, really trying to be that relationship person. And when you spend any time, help them through getting deals, right?
Correct.
Be that person that's going to jump in and say, hey, I have a suggestion how you can close this deal, versus putting them in meetings or one-on-ones where they feel like they're being babysat. That's all.
Yes. 100%. you know. And now, I mean, there's all the background to this, right? I mean, you've got to have because leadership needs reports, they need numbers, they need all these things. Well, that's where the rest of my job comes in, is working with them, you know, hey, do we need a CRM? What reports do we actually need? And what information do we want from the sales team? Because the other thing that I've seen happen a lot is you'll get some folks who love to get into analysis paralysis. And, you know, they want to know everything from what type of coffee the client drank that morning, all the way up to, you know, well, how's your product cycle going? So it's important to be able to work with leadership. And that's the other role of the sales manager, to be like, these are the things that I see that you want. These are the goals you're telling me we have. Here's my recommended reporting and things like that, so that you can get that, and then make sure they have the systems in place to get that.
Super interesting. So recap the 3 ingredients quickly.
So the 3 ingredients: number 1, knowing your team. Highly recommend leveraging personality assessments. Take them out of your file drawer, put them in your one-on-ones. 2, setting that clear expectation and aligning your corporate and personal goals. And then 3, maintaining consistent and efficient communication.
Amazing. Daniel, tell us what you're working on right now and where our audience can find you.
So just signed on to a super exciting project with a company called Supernova. We are in the process of marketing their rapid EV charger, so electric vehicle charger. Our company and the group that we're working with has been charged with putting 100 to 150,000 of these on the ground in the next 18 to 24 months. So this is my favorite. I'm building out a team that's in the process of doing that right now.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions, Julie?
Just tell us your website. How do we find you?
So right now, the easiest place, because I literally launched this business 3.5 weeks ago, is on LinkedIn. Daniel P. Ruth is the easiest way to find me.
All right.
Thanks,
We appreciate it, Daniel. All right. That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show.